could change the world with just a single track. Underage table in the back, smoking, drinking, yeah. Pittsburgh, let me show the world just where my city at. On the map, illest city out, I guess that's just a fact.
I'm Chris. With me as always is Lance and Freddie. And we are the Wandering Yinzers podcast.
Yeah.
Sir.
How you guys
All
doing?
All right, fellas. So, Saturday, we're less than 24 hours away from football, from Steelers fucking football. We got some pretty big news coming up here today, probably. If not today, tomorrow, right before kickoff, is what if it was me, I would wait till kickoff. The quarterback situation. Russell Wilson self-reporting, calf strain, which he's been dealing with all camp. And we got Justin Fields taking first-team reps all day Friday in practice. I think they're working out Russell Wilson this morning. So we should hear something about that. Hopefully, Russell's good. If not, what do you guys think? I'm super confident in Justin Fields.
Yeah,
I'm confident.
If we have to go Justin Fields week 1, I'm not concerned with that. It does open up a lot of storylines. Does he keep the job if he plays well? Do they still roll with Russell? I mean, we saw what happened with Mitch and Kenny, and at this point, it's hard to gauge what they're gonna do because it feels like, did they learn their lesson from what happened with Mitch and Kenny? Because I think everybody can kind of agree they mismanaged that pretty much the entire way through.
So, if you look at what Justin Fields did last year against Atlanta, you got to feel at least a little confident in him going into week 1. Now, I understand that Falcons defense is completely revamped, and so, it's kind of like, what are we going up against? Like, what do they really got? I know on paper they look great. They got Matthew Judon. They added Justin Simmons, the safety. They just paid their top corner, so their defense
Bates,
right, and the defense doesn't look. It looks tough on paper, to be honest with you. But you look at what Justin did last year against that team, and I could pull it up, but I believe it was a pretty solid win. So I don't think that to me at least, that there's much of a fall off from, if any, if Justin goes. I actually feel like Justin's probably a little bit more prepared to play than Russell, just because he's been practicing with the ones for most of preseason. And he's also practiced this week with the ones. So I'm like I said, man, I'm super confident in how Justin would play if he goes Sunday. But I'm also not completely sold that Russell doesn't play either. I think this could just be a chess game. And Mike Tomlin is a smart guy. He's been doing this a long time. That's just, I honestly think that he's just keeping this in his pocket. I think he will keep it in his pocket until game time. I would. Why would you give Atlanta any type of a tell? It's a good advantage right now for them. What do you guys think?
I am with you. I feel that, and one thing a lot of people have been talking about throughout the offseason is the main issue with Justin Fields is the turnovers. If those can be reeled in, the production is more than high enough to elevate the offense from where it was last season. That's the main thing I'm concerned with. I don't expect this to be a top 10 offensive unit in the NFL. It doesn't need to be a top 10 offensive unit because the other side of the ball is a top 3 unit.
Okay. That's a good point.
The best defense Justin has had in his career, and that's going to make a big difference.
Without a doubt.
What do you think about the offensive line put together with, on top of that, compared to what he's had in years past? I mean, I don't believe that it's any worse off than what Chicago had last season. I'm not going to sit here and stand on saying that our offensive line is going to be a top whatever unit right now. I just don't think anyone really knows what it looks like at this point. I think we know we got dogs, obviously, but we got to get this stuff lined up. But I guess my point was Justin played for his life the last few seasons because Chicago's offensive line wasn't very good. Russell played for his life the last few seasons because the offensive coordinator and head coach were garbage. And then, in my opinion, Sean Payton didn't want to have Russell Wilson. So Russell Wilson wasn't set up the last 2 seasons to succeed. So what I'm saying is I think they're both new men in Pittsburgh. And I'm not going to go back and look at what they did in the past because it's a completely different team.
The offensive line's a concern only because they're young and banged up. They're not going to come out the gate looking like how they're going to look in December.
Right.
In December, I have full faith that they'll be able to give both quarterbacks plenty of time, open up holes for the run game. But my biggest concern is we can't afford to lose games early. And the line is young and, again, banged up.
Yeah,
and it's
they
going
are
to take
right
time
now.
to build chemistry together.
Exactly. I think with the new center, let's go back years past when Marquise Pouncey went down. We bring somebody else in. You're really concerned about the quarterback of the line anytime he goes down. And when you have Marquise Pouncey go down, you're like, oh, God, the future Hall of Famer guy goes down. What are we going to do? They bring in a guy. It takes a few weeks. They get it figured out. Same thing happens. We lose Herbig early. Not saying Herbig would have. I think that eventually Frazier would have been the guy, right?
I think there's a very real chance that Frazier would have been the guy week 1 no matter what happened with
right.
But now it's not a deep position.
But you see Herbig go down, and you're thinking, oh no, it's going to take some time for them guys to gel. I think Frazier out of West Virginia is a dog, and he is going to do really well. I think McCormick's going to be a dog. He might take some time to, clean up the rough edges. But I think you're right, though. The offensive line is it's a scary thought because it's just the cohesion. They've not all played together. You got Broad switching back and forth. Falton, who got hurt. We got Seal. I don't want to butcher my homie's name. Isaac goes down, and it's starting to get a little bit concerning. Do I think it's time to panic? Absolutely not. I think the boys will get it together. I hope Broad can at least, get some sort of healing process going throughout the season to where he's not suffering the entire time. That's my concern, though, is just the guys being hurt already, with Broad already being down, with Troy already being down. I mean, we're taking pretty big hits to the offensive line before we even get a game in. You know what I mean?
Troy was a full participant in practice. It was everybody except for Herbig, I think, was practicing, right? They're banged up, but they're not injured, is what I'm trying to say. So,
but with a long season, I guess, is the point. When you have a long season and you're already banging yourself up before week 1, it's not a good, it's not going to bode well for the rest of the year for those guys. You don't actually get any better throughout the year, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Well, the thing about football is once it starts, the players are never 100%. Once week 1 kickoff happens, they're not at 100% anymore.
And I think it's also important to remember, as a fan, that every year these injuries and things happen to every single fan base. And they're all, it's a heartbreaker because, one, they're human beings. You don't want to see any of them get hurt. It's a game. It's a lot of fun to watch, even if you don't like the team or you talk a lot of crap about them or their players. At the end of the day, they're actual human beings. You don't want to see any of them get hurt. But it happens all season long to everybody, and so you hope that it doesn't ruin somebody's livelihood, but it does happen. You hate to see it.
You fellas see Jordan Love get injured last night?
Honestly, man,
Didn't they say it wasn't ACL though? Did you say that?
No,
Lance?
I looked. I got Tom Pelissero said that it wasn't an MCL tear. It was still intact. So that's good news for him. Dude's going to be around. He played a great game last night. I was talking with Freddie most of that game last night, and them boys were out for it. It was a lot of fun to watch. The only thing I'll complain about and I'll stand on is I don't think that we should be playing on those surfaces in international games. Like if you're going to have an international game, it's got to be on natural grass. Or what do we,
Strong opinions about grass versus turf as well.
The NFLPA is going to get involved at some point, I would think. Now, I made a poll about it on Twitter, but I really do believe that they should at least make a point to try to bring that up next time they sit down with the commissioner, because that's a big name in the NFL. Jordan Love is a huge name, and the field conditions certainly led to that. Let's be honest. I mean, there were people falling down all over the place.
Barkley slid on the first.
I love trolling everybody, but these guys are big name athletes. Saquon Barkley falling all over the place. I mean, at the end of the day, the NFL product, we want to see the best players on the field, and those guys couldn't even stand up. What happens if Saquon goes down with an ACL in Brazil?
It doesn't even matter who it is. Any injury hinders a team, and if it's due to field conditions, that's unfairly stacked one way or another. But I didn't mean to derail this. We're not the Wandering Cheeseheads.
Yeah, we're not the Wandering Pack. No, but seriously, so back on topic here. The offensive line. In a few words, express to the audience how you would feel with Broderick on the left side, Faltano on the right, Frazier in the middle. Everyone gets healthy. We got Isaac. That's a good fucking offensive line. In my opinion.
The problem is, will they put the right people in the right places? Because
it seems
historically, the Steelers have not done that with their young offensive line members. They moved Broderick to the right side last year just because they wanted to keep Dan Moore from moving over to where he wasn't comfortable moving. Well,
let's be honest, Dan Moore, the revolving door, which I love that. Dan Moore is really been impressive this preseason. I want to give him props because he's looked good. He's looked good. Now it's just preseason, so let's not throw him a party or anything. But Dan, good job. He looked good this preseason, so I don't want to knock you too hard, brother. But all right, so what else we got on tap here? I'm a huge fan of Van Jefferson. I love Van Jefferson. My reasoning behind it is purely just because I watched him in camp and I thought he did a fantastic job. He did in the one-on-one drills exactly what you would expect a big-bodied guy like that to do. He beat those guys. His hands are tough. He's fast. One of the things I love the most about Van is that he took an Antonio Brown trait and said, I want to do this. Antonio Brown would catch 300 balls a day after practice, right? Van Jefferson said, I want to do that too. I want to be one of the greats, so I'm going to do that too. I love that about him. And everything you've seen in preseason, and I don't care what any of these other fans say, anything you've seen him do in preseason, he's caught every ball, except for the one pass that he got defended against, and someone called it a drop. It wasn't a drop. I love Van Jefferson. I think he's going to do really well this season. Even if he only comes up with 700-800 yards on the season, that's a good wide receiver 2 in an Arthur Smith offense. So with that being said, the big concern, I'm sure, is after we traded Deshaun, I already forgot his name. Deontay drops. After we traded him, we needed a wide receiver too. We looked for Ayuk. It didn't work. Heartbreaking. We didn't get Ayuk, so we got to roll with who we've got. I've been saying this for a month. What do you guys think about the wide receiver group that we have right now? I know, there's opinions about it.
I'm less worried than I think most people are.
Agreed.
Like I think me and you have talked about before, Lance, I believe in anybody that puts in the work, and exactly. Van Jefferson puts in the work. So I think he can be – I'm sorry, Freddie, go ahead.
I think we need to give time to see how the receiving core plays this season before we worry about it. We need to give
2 months
until
listen. We need to give Roman Wilson a season before we decide that we don't have a guy. We need to give these guys a chance.
And we still have 2 months until the
Paid
trade
IU a
deadline.
whole bunch of them.
Chris,
We paid IU.
Romo
We talked about
Which one are you talking about?
Yep.
One or
When
two
we-
seasons.
when
I'm
we-
sorry.
who was the wide receiver that we brought in that Ben
Le'Veon Bell
Roethlisberger
played.
had
Antonio
with?
Brown was there. They bring this guy in. Ben Roethlisberger has 500-yard game, and it's against the Panthers, and this guy catches a bunch of touchdowns. Who is this guy? We talked about this the other day. He was like a guy that. No, man, we got time. Let's look that up. So, anyways, this guy had a crazy year with Pittsburgh, and he kept doing. Like, I wanted him back, but he didn't have a bunch of stats before he came here. Ben Roethlisberger, then they had a great connection.
I mean, we don't have a Ben right now.
We don't, and I'm not saying that we do. I guess, but I guess what I'm saying is sometimes when you come to Pittsburgh, you show out. That's what I'm saying. Mike Tomlin.
Full faith in Roman Wilson.
Mike Tomlin always gets the best out of his players.
Mike Tomlin gets the best out of his players. You are right, and it's been like that for as long as I can remember. Now there's misses, of course. Sometimes you get a guy Gunnar Olszewski that just completely is worthless to the team. But
Sheen.
no, so yeah, Ben Roethlisberger. I got to look this up because it's important. Ben Roethlisberger, 500-yard games. I can't believe this name is just escaping me.
I also don't worry about Roman Wilson.
Yeah, you guys can. Yeah, keep going.
Despite the fact that he missed a little bit of time, and obviously it's not ideal that he goes down the first day of padded practice. That's pretty much the main development time that rookies get before the season starts. But he just seems like a beast, man. Like he seems like the guy that puts in the work, that like takes in everything that he hears and sees. Like kind of reminds me of how Joey Porter Jr. was last year, taking in everything, always like, because he was going, even when Roman Wilson was hurt, he was going through his mental reps. He was always like, you know what I mean? Like the constant reports of him just, even when he wasn't participating, he was participating. And
So we have on the roster right now, I think with them already ruling Roman Wilson out, they're going to bring up that kid from the practice squad. Do you guys have any thoughts on that kid? Because I know that, Chris, you looked into it. You sounded like you were kind of sort of excited about us grabbing him. Do you know who I'm talking about? The kid from the practice squad?
I don't know who you're talking about.
I know.
hold on. I gotta look it up so I don't mispronounce anything.
Honestly, just look it up. We can. This is what this is about. I need to be a little bit quicker. We need to be a little bit quicker about this stuff. We'll get it together, fans. Don't worry, legends. We got this. I still am looking up that wide receiver, which blows my mind how I can't remember that guy. Was it the Colts that he killed? That he had that game against? We'll cut this.
Ravens.
As soon as I see the name, I'm going to be so mad that I didn't have it in my head. Because, like, this dude was awesome.
Ben Skoranek was who I was excited about.
That's it. I think that they're bringing him up. I think that's what Nick said. Nick Faribault. I don't want to butcher his name either, but that's what he said. They're going to bring him up most likely. So, did you have any thoughts on him? I know that Slowick, is that what his name is? Ben Slowick or something?
Hold on. Skovanek.
Very Viking, brother.
Skovanek.
Very, very Viking of you. I like that.
Yeah, it's
Skull. I can't think of the name. Anyways, I guess what my point was is that sometimes when players come to Pittsburgh, they shine. And that's what I fully expect Van Jefferson to do here. I think with the way that, and it's not even about him shining like with huge stats, Chris, or Freddie. It's not about that. It's about them doing their job. Right now in an Arthur Smith offense, right? What we've seen in the past, right? Derrick Henry runs the ball. The wide receiver 1 gets a ton of catches. The wide receiver 2 is a role player. And let's just be honest. So I guess one of the big concerns is keeping everybody upright and healthy. So we're gonna, focus on that and make sure that we keep Pickens.
The concern is if George Pickens does miss any time, that is a real problem.
Yeah, and let's also not forget that the trade deadline isn't until when you guys had that locked up. But the trade deadline,
I think it's November 4th, something like that.
So we have time. That's a rule that Mike Tomlin and them wanted changed.
Right. So I guess one of the things is we traded for Minkah Fitzpatrick in season, and that was a game changer. We can definitely trade for a wide receiver in season if one comes available. I think that if we go out there and beat the piss out of Denver, which I fully expect us to do, that they'll trade Cam Sutton. Or not Cam Sutton, Cortland Sutton. I think they will. I've already seen Cam Sutton. What the hell?
Not for 8 weeks, but we already have him.
Not for 8 weeks. He's already on the team. So, yeah, I think Cortland Sutton could be available if they start 0-2, which I honestly believe they get beat by Seattle. I think we just suffocate that kid with that defense. I don't see him doing very well against Pittsburgh's defense. So, yeah, I think some trade may happen. Even if it doesn't, I've already said this a million times. I'm so comfortable with Van Jefferson as long as everyone stays healthy, And at the end of the day, if you're going to go to a championship and win a Super Bowl, the team has to stay healthy. So let's just be honest. Everybody's hoping that everyone stays healthy. So now on to the real subject, Pittsburgh's defense. God, I love these guys. First thing I want to talk about, though, last year a lot of people would talk about Minkah Fitzpatrick like he wasn't still him. I think they lost the fact that Minkah was making up for a lot of deficiencies on the defense last season. Chris,
out of position.
Straight up.
He was essentially a safety cornerback hybrid that also was tasked with making sure the run game didn't get out of hand. He was doing everything once Cam Hayward got hurt, once it was established that we only had one corner. And then on top of that, the safeties start dropping like flies towards the end of the season, injuries, suspensions.
The defense was held together with Band-Aids and duct tape at the end of the year. We lost all the inside linebackers we had. Safeties were falling like flies. We were still tough. That goes on the defensive coaching and the mindset in the locker room that it's always next man up. Freddie, tell me about what you expect out of the new player that we have that everyone's most excited about. Your buddy, Patrick Queen.
I'm expecting him to be great, obviously.
Yeah.
It's the best linebacker we've had since Ryan Shazier was here, without a doubt, easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess what are your expectations for the season? Like, do you have any type of do you anticipate? First off, I think we've already seen that Baltimore misses him dearly.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Thank God.
I know we don't put a whole lot of stock in PFF grades, but let me pull up that number real quick.
I saw it. Please pull that PFF number up, Chris. But go on, Freddie. Tell me about what you anticipate seeing out of him this season.
What do you mean? I don't know.
Stats wise, do you have a prediction on like a tackle over under? Do you think that he's going to be the difference maker that we needed moving forward for this? Like, I'm just asking you, like, give me your take on what Patrick Queen's going to do for us. I honestly can say for myself that I agree. I think you agree. We all talked about this yesterday. Patrick Queen is the best linebacker we've had at that position since Ryan Shazier's injury. You know, and so when we see him on the field, it's going to be very reminiscent of the guy that we once had. So I guess, you know, just go into a little bit about how what you're excited about specifically for yourself. Cause I know that you know, he follows you on Twitter, you follow him, you're very close, you know, you have the name for it. So talk to me about what you think Patrick's going to do on the defense this season.
Do you want me to make like predictions for stats?
Yeah, dude, definitely. Come up with something off the top of your head. Don't even think about it. Just say how many. As an inside linebacker, though, on our defense, you don't got to say he's going to get 20 sacks. But you know, like,
no.
I think
I'm going to say he's going to get 4 or 5 sacks.
5 sacks probably. Let's be real.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have a couple interceptions. Easily, I think
2 interceptions.
I hope he picks Bo
I'm
Nix off.
2 interceptions. That's what I'll say.
Bo's going to be his buddy.
Roquan Smith, in his first game without Patrick Queen, had a 29.4 grade on PFF. He was the lowest graded starter on the field that night.
Oh my
Patrick
God,
Queen made Roquan.
Roquan, where's your buddy at? Oh my God, it's the funniest part. It's like, oh, everyone said Roquan made Pat. Oh
It's
my
the other
God.
way around.
I cannot wait
Proven.
to see him ball the fuck out this year, dude. Like Pat just makes when he got drafted, I wanted him.
So did
I wanted him in Pittsburgh. Just because, you know, at the time you're like, we need that guy. We don't have that guy no more. And like for him to want to come to Pittsburgh after playing in Baltimore, are you serious?
To see him
Patrick
chirping with
Queen's on our
Baltimore
team.
fans, to see him chirping with Baltimore fans on Twitter on behalf of the Steelers,
I love it.
Greatest. It's the greatest feeling.
It gives me hope.
Love it.
Very excited for Patrick
So,
Queen.
all right. So we went with Patrick Queen for a little bit here, which is part of my, I guess, excitement. But I think the one guy on the defense, let's do this. Who do we have as the most underrated player on the team? I'll go first. I think on the defense, Keanu Benton. I'm going to go
Are we
with
doing
him.
underrated starters or underrated
Just anyone. I'm going to go
Nick
with
Herbig?
Nick Herbig. I'm going to go Keanu Benton because you can. I'm going to just explain why. Because this dude is a fucking truck in the middle of the field, and he's going to have an all-pro type of year on that defense. He's going to be the great anchor that we've been missing. He showed it last year. He's going to improve off of that. That's the guy that I think that people are going to be like. People are already on Keanu Benton, so it's not some serious like look at me take. But that dude's going to take a huge step this season, and he's going to be fucking dominant.
My pick
Go on.
for most underrated player on the defense would be the same guy it always is. It's Cam Hayward once again, even by Steelers fans. He signs his extension, and I'm seeing Steelers fans complaining about it. Complaining
Ridiculous.
about extending Cam Hayward to your team for 3 more
On a
seasons on a fair deal.
On a fairly team-friendly deal.
Yeah. He is
so-
still the most underrated player on the Steelers.
Freddie, real quick, why Herbig?
Well, Steelers are not known, but a lot of people say that TJ Watt kind of is the reason why we win a lot of games. And I feel like Nick Herbig finally gives us confidence if something were to happen to him, that we have someone to step up.
I love that. So you went with I like your reasoning behind that because you're not thinking about the guy that's already playing. You're thinking about next man up already. So, I mean, obviously if somebody like a TJ Watt goes down, you can't replace him, but you have confidence in Nick Herbig to be a game-changing type of guy. Same thing, I feel like, with the rookie. I'm a huge fan of Peyton Wilson. I took a bet, $10, not a big deal, on him for Defensive Rookie of the Year because I have a lot of faith in the fact that he'll see the field. All three of our inside guys are dogs, by the way. Patty, we got Elandon Cowboy, Outlaw Cowboy Roberts, and now we got this guy, this rookie kid that's fast, that's tough, and that tackles. The guy just finds his way to the tackle. So that's what I mean, defense is looking good, brother. What do you guys, let's wrap up the defensive part of this portion here with how do we feel going into week one? We already know that you guys have already kind of teased where you put Pittsburgh on the list of the 32 teams. But going into week one as a whole, I'm confident in saying it's a top 5 unit, especially after seeing Baltimore struggle without Patrick Queen. I had Baltimore as a high defense. I thought they were definitely top 5 somewhere. I don't think that anymore. I think they're a top 10 unit, probably still good, but not elite defense. I think tomorrow we find out for sure how Pittsburgh's defense is going to be, but we've improved at every level. So with that being said, and people don't talk enough about the secondary additions that we made. Sean Elliott, remind me of the cornerback that we traded Deontay for. Deontay Jackson, which also I don't think I've seen him very much, but a solid contributor on that defense. So we've added
CB2 was last year.
Right, we've added at every level. So on paper, we should be a better team. Defense starts to get back to normal. Minka plays his position well again. I think we're good. You know what I mean? I think that defense is definitely a top 5 unit. But again, that's just me, and that's my reasoning because they were good last year, and they're improved over that. Okay, we're healthy. We got Cam Hayward back. So I guess if you guys wanted to make your point on why our defense is top 3, like you've already said, what would you say? And could you add anything to what I've already pointed out?
So one thing that we haven't really mentioned about the defense is that if the offense can perform anywhere near what even the minimum we're kind of expecting to see a jump for, the defense is going to actually be able to have time off the field. They're possibly going to be able to play with leads. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, rushing the pass.
Having a lead in the game and being able to go after a quarterback is throwing. They haven't been able to do that in 3 seasons. And
yeah.
Like you said, we improved at every level. We have all pros at every level of the defense. This is not a top 5 unit. This is a top 3 unit, and I'm only saying 3 because I'm leaving room for injuries. This is a top 2 unit. This is a top 2 unit.
This might be the first year, Chris, that I actually feel confident that even if something were to happen to somebody on the defense, that we have somebody that's very good next man up type deal.
At every single level, except for slot cornerback. The only we have at defense is that slot cornerback position.
Also, I mean, I think Trice takes over as your starting CB2 before too long. I think Jackson ends up being your corner slot guy over Beanie more often. So we'll see how that plays out. I mean, you're going to move your best players around. You're going to put them in the best position to win. Beanie being undrafted guy, I don't want to doubt him because James Harrison is a Hall of Fame undrafted Pittsburgh Steeler, and I'm not doubting anybody that makes a team that wasn't drafted.
I never discount a UDFA. Never. Jalen Warren right now.
I always hope for them more than the people
those
that are
guys
drafted in the first round to be often.
Those guys are hungry, man.
Honest.
They're humble and they're hungry, man.
Foster, also undrafted, I believe, right? Yeah, Ramon Foster was undrafted.
Yeah. Pittsburgh sometimes finds those diamonds in the rough that become great. You know what I mean? It's oftentimes, actually, Pittsburgh is one of the teams that kind of brings that together, to be honest with you. So next question I have, and this is like just a kind of, I don't know, for the pod, I guess. I want to make a prediction on TJ Watt's sack total for the season.
He's breaking the record.
I think that, okay, well, that's easy to say, right? But you have to give a total number. Is he breaking it by a half a sack? Is he breaking it by a whole sack? I want to know how many sacks you guys are predicting for TJ Watt this season. 24?
24.
Dang. Okay. What do you think, Chris? Do you have any type of official prediction on the TJ Watt sack? Because I think he's going to win Defensive Player of the Year this year. I do.
You guys
I think.
Remember what happened the last time he was snubbed for Defensive Player of the Year.
Yes, he went and broke the sack record.
And that time, it didn't happen to a guy that was in his draft class, that plays in the division for the Browns, no less.
It's a beautiful thing.
And I'm going to put it out there right now. That Defensive Player of the Year award from last year is the most fraudulent superlative I have ever seen handed out to anybody. This man was absent for 7 weeks in the end of the season. And how do you win a Defensive Player of the Year without recording a sack in 7 games? As an edge rusher that doesn't drop into coverage. TJ Watt still drops into coverage. That's my piece on that. TJ Watt is getting 25 sacks this season.
I love it. So
what's your prediction? You didn't
I'm
give
gonna
a
go
number, Lance.
Well, since you already took what probably I would have picked, I'll just go 1.5 sack below you. I'll go 23.5. Because honestly, I think you're absolutely right. I think first off, we don't have to. I don't want to give any clout to the Browns at all, because that was a fraudulent Defensive Player of the Year. I get it.
Don't get me wrong.
You can't
Myles
give it to
Garrett
the same.
is a phenomenal football player.
Badass
He
player.
is a monster, but he is not TJ Watt. I'm sorry.
No, and he's a great, phenomenal football player. And anybody that says, and I've said this, that I would take him in a heartbeat in Pittsburgh.
TJ Watt and then Myles Garrett. And that's unquestioned.
It's an absolute troll job for anyone, including myself, to say that Myles Garrett is dog shit, because that's just all it is. It's just trolling. The kid's phenomenal at football. He's a beast. And
but whenever I'm pressed on it, I will always say, no, I would take him in a heartbeat. I wish he was a Steeler.
No. At the end of the day, though, last year, I guess the point is, when you had that, stats are stats, dude. I don't care what you say. PFF is a great tool, but how can you say that almost getting a sack is equivalent to getting a sack, or beating a double coverage is as good as getting a sack? It's not. The game is influenced by
with that.
The game is influenced. The game is influenced on the field, not in a hypothetical stat. So, in my opinion, and everyone says, "Oh, he gets doubled." TJ's, I guess, we work a way to make it so that TJ doesn't get doubled, and that's why he succeeds.
TJ plays off the line. His doubles come in the form of chip blocks or second level blocks. He's not getting doubled by 2 linemen. He's getting doubled by a lineman and a fullback, or a lineman and a running back, or a lineman and a tight end that motions over.
Right. He's not a down, anyways. So our predictions go 23.5 for myself, 24 for Freddie, 25 for Chris. That's a baller ass year. That's like setting the tone for no one's ever breaking my record, bitch.
That's what I see out of TJ this year. And if he doesn't have the sacks to match that, he's going to have 23.5 sacks and like 4 interceptions and 3 of them for touchdowns. And you know what I'm saying? He's just an absolute game wrecker, and he is playing mad this year. He's playing free this year.
Nothing I'm not used to.
He doesn't have to. Yeah, he doesn't have to cover up for deficiencies in the run game, because Larry Ogunjobi looks healthy for the first time since he put on a Steelers uniform.
Yeah.
Cam Hayward's healthy and extended and ready to fucking go. We got 3 great middle linebackers. TJ doesn't have to worry about the run game right now. It's the first time in his career that he can really say that. And so now he can just afford to, what's the quarterback doing? And just QB watch with binoculars.
It's going to be a good season for the defense as a whole if everyone stands up, and stays healthy, which we keep talking about that, because I'm not trying to bring that up too often, but it's a part of the game. So if we stay up, and that's how champions win, Super Bowls, by staying healthy in games, then we're going to be good, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I am a very optimistic person about most things, and I will remain optimistic about the offense. Although I know that a lot of the pundits from the Steelers organization don't have that same sentiment. But I am optimistic that the offense will be good and better than it was last season.
In Steelers media have that sentiment?
Who?
Beat reporters. The team.
No, They do.
In the locker room,
Nick Farbaugh just predicted them to lose 20-13. That's a goddamn Kenny Pickett score, and he sees everything. He said the offense is not going to do well. I don't agree with him at all. I don't, and I like Nick a lot. I follow him pretty closely on Twitter, but I don't agree with him on that. I think the offense is going to look good, and until they prove me wrong.
Nick's down on Justin Fields, right? I think I remember him being a
I think
guy.
he thinks Justin's going to go. I think, and I think that
it's looking more and more likely. I don't stand any side of the fence on that one.
I stand on what I said earlier.
earlier.
I think that Justin's ready to go, but I got used to the idea of Russ, and I still am used to the idea of Russ. I think it's a chess game that they're playing, and I love that. I don't care what anyone says. Mike Tomlin knows how to manipulate things. The dude, the dude's good at football. He's a good personality. He knows what he's doing.
We are 40 minutes into the show. Let's do some game predictions.
Here we go. So what do we want to do here with the official predictions? Do we want to go? I'm cool with predicting the rest of the week, but I already made my predictions public. So I guess what I was going to do originally was going to try to pick the AFC North 1 through 4. I think I'm going to hold off on that prediction until the next episode so that I can do a little bit more research and also see these teams play once in the regular season. I know that's kind of like half cheating, but I'd at least like to see each team play once before I make my AFC North predictions. So I guess
we got to see the Ravens lose at least.
Yes, we did. Which I said the Ravens are good, and they are good on offense. I think their defense took a huge step back, but that's just me. And they also played Kansas City. Who knows? Kansas City could just be super good, and Baltimore could just also be really good.
Yeah.
Which Kansas City looked tough, man. Let's be real. So I guess my official prediction will be I am picking Pittsburgh to win today or tomorrow. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh. I'm going to say final score 23-17 Pittsburgh.
Almost on my exact prediction. I was going to go 24. I was going to go 24-17. I got Steelers winning. I think.
Yeah, I think they get in the end.
Try to make a little bit of a statement, but I think we'll have some bumps and bruises for sure.
I think
they move the ball well.
17-10 Steelers.
Okay. For me, I think they move the ball well, but I don't think they get it in every time they want to. I think they get a defensive score and some field goals. I think they get, I think they get rolling, but it's not going to be some offensive juggernaut. I think they get a defensive score. 23-17 is not too crazy. It's not a great offensive game either. So, but yeah, that's my official prediction for this Sunday's game in Atlanta. I think Kirk Cousins is a great addition to that team. I think it's also like we talked about the other day. It's a lot of like us playing us right now. There's a lot of uncertainty in Atlanta, and there's a lot of uncertainty in Pittsburgh. Atlanta has a brand new head coach and a brand new offense.
In the same draft class?
I'm sorry, say
What'd
that?
you say?
Weren't Cousins and Russ even in the same draft class? I think I just realized that.
I'm not sure on that, but I'm saying they have that veteran guy now, so it's a good team and it should be a great matchup. I think Pittsburgh ultimately smothers them on defense, and that provides the victory.
Yeah, they were both the 2012 draft class. This is basically the Steelers playing the Steelers.
Basically, Kirk family members is one of the greatest contractual quarterbacks of all time, the richest man ever play. They love him in Atlanta. They love him. Basically, they love him anywhere he goes. But yeah, so that's my prediction. 23-17 Pittsburgh. Defensive game. I think Pittsburgh's defense shows out.
It's a defensive statement game and an offensive. All right, we're not that bad.
Yeah, right. So, with all that being said, super excited to release this first episode of the podcast. We want to thank everybody that spent all their time watching us talk about Steelers ball. This has been a privilege for me to get to sit down with these guys and talk about it and just have fun and bullshit and go into detail. One of the
See where
things
this goes.
moving forward, we're going to try to continue to do this Saturdays, but we're also going to try to add a little bit of live action stuff, maybe at some of the games on Sundays. With that coming up, we don't have our first home game until the Chargers come into town. I plan on being there. I think Freddie plans on being there. So we're going to try to make this maybe a live stream or a live podcast that day, sitting out in front of Heinz Field. Yeah, Heinz Field. We're sitting out in front of Heinz Field.
Still is.
Fuck Acrisure. Anyways, we're going to be out in front of the stadium, tailgating and enjoying ourselves, and we may do a live broadcast that day. So we look forward to that too. But with that being said, we will see you guys next Saturday around the same time. Thanks, guys.
You was talking shit, now I'm somebody you would love for me. I'ma do my